It's probably going to bring up some internal resistance if you hear that you need to change your identity or your behavior around when you travel. Because hear me out, where you are today is a result of your identity and your behavior around food. Make this fun. Then it's going to be a win-win for the people that you're with, and it's also going to feel better for you as well, because you're going to be creating these new patterns and behaviors around food and how you travel. Hike together, skate together, work out together. We went to Trader Joe's, which was exciting and a fun time for me. We went to Whole Foods. I love those kind of supermarkets. It's one of the highlights for me of being in America. There are so many things that you can do when you travel that are not just related to eating. Crazy, I know. I recently went to America and I actually lost weight on that trip. And if you've ever been on any kind of holiday, you know that this is super rare and most people actually gain weight. So I wanted to share with you exactly what I did and how you can travel and still maintain your weight or even lose. I want to preface this by saying that it's probably going to bring up some internal resistance if you hear that you need to change your identity or your behavior around when you travel. And as much as I would love to be able to tell you just eat really well at home and then completely let loose on holiday, if we're actually going to change the results that we have, then we're going to have to change all of our identity and our behaviors around food. Because hear me out, where you are today is a result of your identity and your behavior around food. And a lot of that has to do with social situations, how you travel, times like Christmas and holidays. So it's reasonable that that's going to have to change if you want to have a different outcome. So I'm going to share with you the 3 steps that I use to have an amazing travel system, and then we're going to go over a little story about how I applied these on my most recent one. Step 1 is to plan. You need to be thinking about where you're going to stay, what kind of foods you're going to have access to, what kind of facilities you're going to have access to, what the group, if you're going with a group of people, is going to be doing. You really need to be thinking in this planning stage about all of the scenarios and all of the contingencies as much as you possibly can so that you're able to create a plan around them. And where most people fail in their travel is that they just expect to show up and then there's no vegan food, there's no food that is compliant. They end up eating out way more than they expect. They end up binging on foods. They end up just being given foods by other people. And most of that could have been avoided if you just thought about what is going to be happening when you're actually there. If you're on this journey, you cannot expect to just show up and have things go the way that you want them to go. You're going to show up and they're going to go the way they've always gone unless you change something, and that happens in the planning stage. So think about what is going to be happening. Step 2 is to proactively communicate. And now there's 2 things here. The first one is to understand that people are probably not going to get why you're doing what you're doing. You're going to be thought of as obsessive, possibly weird, maybe an inconvenience. That's okay. That's normal. You're probably going to be thought of as boring by some people, but hear me out. It's all subjective. I don't travel and get blackout drunk and have one-night stands. That would probably be boring to some people, but it doesn't fit in with my lifestyle, my goals, my values. Remember, your past behavior is what got you to where you are today. So it's reasonable, again, that people are going to notice when you start to make changes. Hang in there, it's going to be fine. Second piece to this is that people respond fairly well to change if you make it easy and not an inconvenience for them. You problem solve in advance. You think about how you could solve those specific issues where they don't have to actually come up with a solution. If you bring food with you, if you suggest ideas for what restaurants you want to go to, and you're proactive about proposing those to a group of people, most of the time, because they don't have to think about it, they're going to be like, yeah, that's amazing. I didn't have to Google it. I didn't have to look at TripAdvisor. Amazing, let's just go where you want to go. Communicate ahead of time, offer suggestions, offer ways that you can problem solve. If people don't have to think about it, then they're generally not going to be too upset. People love not having to think, and you're included in this, which is why you have to plan ahead. You do have to think, sorry. Number 3 is to make this fun. Then it's going to be a win-win for the people that you're with, and it's also going to feel better for you as well, because you're going to be creating these new patterns and behaviors around food and how you travel. What I like to do is find seasonal produce in the places that I go to, foods that I can't get at home. I like to go to new supermarkets. I like to find farmers markets, picnics and cooking together and going out for coffee or a cup of tea or something instead of going out to eat all the time if you're a coffee drinker, which I totally am. Put in the comments if you love going out to get a coffee as well. Would love to hear. Hike together, skate together, work out together. There are so many things that you can do when you travel that are not just related to eating. Crazy, I know. So here's how I used all 3 steps in my most recent trip. So I originally went over for a business conference. It was a 2-day conference, and I knew that I was going to be staying in a hotel and I was going to be going out to eat, and the people that were hosting this event were going to be catering for us in some way. So instantly there's a whole lot of things here that I need to plan for and figure out what that's going to look like. I was also meeting my general manager of Lean of Plants, who's amazing, and we were meeting in LA, and then we were going to fly down to Florida together for this event. So the number one priority is just to figure out what the plan was. So the first thing I did was get in contact with the organizers and just figure out what their plan was. I realized that we were going to go out for dinner 2 nights, that they were planning on bringing food in for us from different restaurants for our lunches, and they're also planning to give us basically a cafe voucher for in the mornings for a place that was close to our hotel. So I had a look where this place was. I looked at where the nearest Whole Foods was. We were going to drive out from Orlando to St. Augustine, and so I realized that we could stop at Whole Foods on the way. And so I proposed the idea that we wouldn't need to be catered for apart from going out to eat, and so we would bring our own food. I didn't tell them that I wanted them to pay for it, but I knew that I wasn't going to be eating the food that they were providing. So they offered to give us a voucher to buy the food that we were going to cater for ourselves, which worked out perfectly. You see, the thing here is that I gave an easy solution. I didn't wait for them to say, well, maybe we can find a vegan place or whatever. I just said, hey, we can cater for ourselves, we'll get food at Whole Foods, and it made it really easy for them to just say, yep, here's some money. So we planned to stop at Whole Foods. We worked that into our schedule. We knew we were going to be driving all day. We also had a plan the day before we left to stop at Planet Fitness and create a temporary membership, because we wanted to work out that day as well. We knew we were going to be doing a lot of sitting, and it's a big part of my identity to be consistent in my workouts, so we went and did that as well. There's a lot of planning involved in this, but we ended up having a day that was great. We traveled out, we ate amazing food on the way in the car, and then we were able to store that at our hotel. Now, the kind of foods that we got were fruit, snacky vegetables that don't need cooking to eat, things like snap peas, cherry tomatoes, baby carrots. We got some hummus there for dipping. We got some baby potatoes that we could cook in the microwave. We bought some olives, we bought a bit of salad mix. We bought some tofu, already marinated, that we could potentially just either put in the air fryer. They told us there was an air fryer, or that we could just eat straight in our salads. And so we had everything planned for the 2 days that we were going to be at the conference. And we got all the goodies. We got snap peas, we got the carrots happening, multiple hummuses. What hummus did you get?
Oh yeah, what's like a jalapeno?
What?
We were in a
We
vibe.
got that! What the heck? Jalapenos!
So funny. So good. I got it for free.
Nice. Oh, and our cards.
Yes.
Just gonna start sending these to our clients. Love it.
Nice. Good,
Piggies, potatoes.
Got a good little quality to them. Okay.
We had a fridge in our hotel room, which is very common. Most hotel rooms do have fridges. And then we knew that there's always some kind of microwave in a hotel. Even if it's not in your room, it's probably going to be in the lobby. So that's where we thought, okay, we'll cook our potatoes in that, worst case scenario. We also arranged ahead of time that the restaurant we would be going to would be able to cater for us in terms of vegan food. I looked up the menu before we went. I was happy with the kind of foods that were on there. And so when we showed up, we ended up having an amazing risotto with some salad, and it was pretty much Whole Foods. I was actually really impressed. We got coffees in the morning, we ate our fruit. We also bought some like protein shakes and some protein bars. So we had foods that we didn't need to cook. And then at our event, we cooked up some potatoes in the microwave and we snacked on them with some hummus and some veggies. One thing I want to say here is that the best made plans are still going to fail at some point. And that's okay. The second night that we were at this event, we didn't plan very well, and we didn't communicate with the restaurant that we were vegan or that there would be any kind of options. I just assumed that because our organisers had done such a good job the first night that they would have communicated some of that the second, or maybe I had said I would talk to them. There was no food that we could eat, like nothing, which was fine. We didn't eat anything at that event. We sat and talked, we were engaged, and then we cooked microwave potatoes and we ate our salad stuff. in our hotel room, cooked it in the lobby, ate it in the hotel room when we got home that night. Alright, so this is our little hotel room. We are in St. Augustine, Florida. Just got home from an event and there was no vegan food. That is okay. We drank our water and now we're making up some goodness. What do we got?
We've got some freshly microwaved potatoes.
Went down to the lobby, microwave these potatoes.
Use the
containers. We've got tomatoes, arugula, olives of course. Got some carrots in there. Tofu, hummus.
So, yes.
Making up this beautiful little bowl right here. All the things in here. This is very good. And it tastes amazing because we haven't eaten for a long time.
Stir fire to way to make sure your food tastes good. Really make sure
really, like this is better. Like we went to a restaurant. I mean, this is just as good, honestly. Just as good.
I agree.
Delish. Good. One more note on this as well is because we knew we were going to have cold food and we are going to be traveling in the car for quite a few hours, I'm pretty sure we did here, like this, I can't fully remember, but I'm pretty sure one of us bought a little chiller bag because we knew we were going to need it. So planning, you can see how we're planning, we're proactively communicating, and we're actually making this fun for ourselves as well. We loved the food that we ate. I was eating fresh figs. I was gorging myself on those because they're not in season at home, and we loved the food that we were eating. We took the leftovers that we had to the airport. We were eating tofu and olives and arugula and cherry tomatoes and hummus, sitting in the airport waiting for our flight. So we were fully catered for. And here's another thing. How much money do you think that we saved by buying foods at Whole Foods fruit, veggies, as opposed to eating out and buying expensive airport food? I'm not saying you can't do this, but I'm saying that if your goals are different and you want different outcomes, your behavior is gonna have to change in some way. Maybe not all the time, but a lot of the time. And it can be enjoyable as well. All right, currently in the Orlando airport, got some tofu here. Literally ripped into this with my teeth and a key, and eating rocket like an actual rabbit. Because you have to embrace the weird. Like if you're going to win, if you're going to do things that you've never done, if you're going to eat Whole Foods, gotta go to the fight, embrace the weird. So I stayed with my general manager when I was in LA, and we did a lot of activities that weren't based around food. We normally cooked really simple things together. We went to Trader Joe's, which was exciting and a fun time for me. Went to Whole Foods. I love those kind of supermarkets. It's one of the highlights for me of being in America, because there's just so much more access to produce. And I also love this when I'm in other countries as well. Going and seeing the different kind of products and produce that are at supermarkets is actually really exciting for me. Maybe I'm just nerdy. I'd love to know if anyone else loves doing this. We went and got coffee. We went and saw different parts of the city. We went walking a ton. We also worked out together most days. So we centered our activities around things that weren't just food. I also planned to cook for her one night, so I got the ingredients that I needed, and I made a meal for her, which she really enjoyed. We both really enjoyed it. It was a really special experience.
The pumpkin's so good.
Have a look. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Normally I put chickpeas, but tofu. All about that tofu life right now.
We're eating so much tofu.
Every day.
I'm tofu now. I stopped being the broccoli girl.
You're just tofu.
girl.
And when we met with other people, we proposed picnics. Picnics are amazing because you can experience more of wherever place you're in. You can get outside, and they're actually very easy to prep for. We would do microwave potatoes, snacky veggies, hummus, maybe some olives in there, tofu. We got obsessed with this teriyaki tofu from Whole Foods, and we'd just eat it like straight out of the packet. So it was really phenomenally simple to get a picnic. And when I spent time with other people, we did things like skating and walking around. I got a couple of tattoos while I was there. I tried to do things that are not just based on food. And if you use girl math and you're not spending money on takeout all the time, then you can definitely afford to get a couple of tattoos. So use that one. We also had some fun times cooking together, going shopping together. When I met up with my team in LA, we went to Trader Joe's, we bought a whole lot of stuff, we cooked together, we had an amazing meal, ate some sushi bowls, and it was one of the highlights of my time there. And I did eat out, and I did drink a little bit of alcohol on that trip. I was not perfect by any stretch, but because I was intentional, I was able to stay consistent most of the time and enjoy myself very, very much while still maintaining my weight and actually losing a little bit when I got home. The goal here is not to be perfect. The goal is not to eliminate all the things that make you happy, but I'm really gonna question that. If everything that makes you happy is around food, then possibly you want to change that behavior if you've got different goals. What I'm trying to say is that you need to change your identity and you need to change some of your behavior around food to have a different result. And I've talked about that a million times, you're sick of it. So to do that, plan better, communicate and be proactive about that, and then have fun and enjoy it. That's what I did. It's worked for me many a time, and it works for our members inside Olena Plants as well. So I'm sure it can work for you. If you like this video, then please consider subscribing. I'll see you next week for another one, and I'd love to hear in a comment, what do you do when you travel? All right, that's it from me. Bye.